Hello everyone. So today's video is going to be something different. I don't think I've covered a case kind of like this before. Um, because of the nature of the case, there's not really a whole lot of information like investigating and stuff like that. So it will definitely be on the shorter side. But there's just something about incidents like these that just terrify me the most. I have been to the fairs and stuff like that, and the rides just always freak me out. Like, there's just always something about them, and then you hear stories like what happened to Asia and so many other people, and it kind of freaks you out a bit. Like, it happens a lot for something that really shouldn't happen all that much. There's just a lot of questionable safety standards about the rides themselves, about the people working the rides, and who's at fault. And I wanted to talk about this case today because it was just something that just mind boggles me. Like, these things happening in general, it just freaks me out. With that being said, we are talking about the unfortunate death of Asia Ferguson today. All the links I used for research will be down below like always, and let's get into this. So, Asia LaShawn Ferguson, affectionately called LaShawn by family and friends, passed away on June 28, 2008, at the age of 17. He had a horrific death, and he was taken much too soon. So, a little bit about him. He was born in Columbia, South Carolina, to Asia Dwayne and Letha Jenkins Ferguson. He was a rising senior at W.J. Keenan High School. He was a member of the W.J. Keenan Chorus and a faithful member of Oakley Spring Baptist Church, where he was in young adult choir. And let's go ahead and get into the actual incident itself. If you couldn't tell by the title of this video, it is dark. I'm not going to show any photos because there's none of those, thankfully, or any like super grisly details. But just a trigger warning because this is just a dark death. So I want to give a trigger warning right now that we're about to talk about it. On June 28th, he was spending his Saturday at Six Flags Over Georgia with a friend, and he also was there with some family and some people from church. They're kind of having a picnic and just spending the day there. So at Six Flags Over Georgia, there is a ride called Batman the Ridge Coaster, which is a fast-moving roller coaster and one of the more popular attractions at the park. So if you've ever been to one of these parks, or just like a place like a fair, carnival in general, they have restricted areas fenced off around the rides, and that's just because, safety and precautions and all of that. And that was no different here. There were safety signs and saying like you can't go past this point, all that usual stuff. And I'm gonna have photos of the actual ride itself on the screen, and you'll see signs and you'll see like the fences and stuff that I am talking about. But regardless of this, for some reason on that day, Asia would hop two left fences and entered an area that he wasn't supposed to be in. So there was a witness, and this witness told police that they believed he was trying to find a hat that he had lost on the ride. And unfortunately, while he was trying to recover this hat, the train car was going full speed at 50 miles per hour, and Asia was hit. The force of this blow decapitated him. And this next part, when I read it, I couldn't believe it, but disgustingly enough, there was a video of this incident. Someone was filming it. Apparently, I did not see it. We'll get into that in a minute. That is no longer available, thank God. I guess someone was watching him jump the fences or whatever, and they were filming it, or they were filming the ride, and they caught him in the camera, but they caught him being decapitated by this ride, and that is just disturbing in itself. But what happens with that video is just disturbing as well. So thankfully, that video is no longer available. Should never have even been available to the public to see. But even if it was available, I just want you to know that I would not have included that in the video. But it is said that this video was said to be extremely graphic, and a Reddit user actually uploaded the video online. I'm not sure if it's the person that took the video or somehow got their hands on it, but it said that a Reddit user is the one that did that, and they did this without the consent of Asia's family. So not only do they have to endure this unfortunate accident, but someone filmed it happening, whether they were trying to film the ride or this actually happening, and posted it online. Can you just imagine that for a second? This horrible thing happens to your child, and someone with such a lack of empathy posts their very graphic death for the world to see. I can't imagine how traumatized the family is, how traumatized the people on that ride was, because especially the people out front when it happened, and then the people that have stumbled upon this video maybe not knowing what it was and seeing this happen, imagine how traumatizing that has to be. And then the most traumatizing thing of all is that it actually happened to Asia. Like, I can't imagine having your death filmed like that. So thankfully it's no longer available. I'm not sure if they were just forced to take it down or what, but thankfully it's no longer available. But I did want to put that out there. So people have debated who's at fault for this grisly and untimely death. But I'm going to say this: whether or not Asia was at fault or you think him to be, I will not tolerate any comments on this video blaming him for his death. He did not intend to die this day, and to shame him for a mistake that cost him his life is gross. So be respectful with your comments or you're going to be banned. He just wanted to get his hat. I highly doubt he's going to jump those fences thinking that this was going to happen to him, and if he knew that, he probably wouldn't have done it. So don't, oh, he should have listened. None of that. What happened to him was unfortunate, and if you can't be respectful, just don't comment. So, like I said, people have debated whether Asia is at fault or if Six Flags Over Georgia is for not securing the obviously dangerous rides better. People have said that Asia ignored the warning signs and he just put himself in jeopardy. And that could be true. I'm not going to sit here and debate whether or not that's true. I mean, when I looked at the photos, I saw signs everywhere. But you don't go over them thinking that something's actually going to happen to you. But that doesn't make it okay. So the Cobb County spokesman, Sergeant Dana Pierce, says that it does appear that there was a adequate warning of the risk. And this is a quote from her: "It would be hard to imagine how somebody could not read those signs and yet traverse both those fences," end quote. And then a quote from Asia's dad. He says, "We're not clear on what happened. All we know is that we don't blame anybody," end quote. Which I think is super big of the family, because even if it was my child at fault or whatever, I would be raising hell just because you're in so much pain. For me personally, I would feel like I'd want someone to pay, but they're just like, we're not blaming anybody. This was just unfortunate. We're not really sure what happened. And talking a little bit more about like the safety and all that. No, I don't think he should have went over those fences. They're there for a reason. There's signs for a reason. That being said, I don't think he intended to die that day. I don't think he honestly thought something would happen to him. I think he thought, I'll just be really quick. I'll get there before the ride does. Not realizing just how fast that ride was going and just how quickly it would get to him, and he really wouldn't have the time that he would need to get back. And in this case, you might already have an opinion like who's at fault for it. But in a lot of these situations, a lot of times people will say like, oh, it's the people running the ride or it's the company. And I just think that there needs to be better safety precautions in general. Like, yes, there's tall fences and there's signs, but if people are getting over these fences, something's a little bit wrong with that, I just feel like they could be secured better. There could be more people watching, because things like this should not happen. But this is something that just is so mind-boggling and freaks me out, because you're there to have a good time, you're there to have fun, you're not intending for someone you love to lose their life. And I want to talk about it more often. So these aren't going to be like, you know, a lot of videos that I do very often, but I will sprinkle these in every once in a while. I think it's good to talk about, safety and all of that when you're going to these places. But with that being said, I do think this was an unfortunate thing to have happened to Asia. I don't think, he intended to die that day. And I think it's really sad what happened to him and his family now doesn't have a son. They don't have a brother, a cousin, whoever. They don't have that person in their life anymore because of the situation. And like Asia's dad said, they don't blame anybody, so maybe we shouldn't either. But I wanted to talk about his story today because it broke my heart, especially the whole thing with the video. Like, I can't imagine being the person that just uploaded that. That had to have been horrible for the family. But let me know down below. Please be respectful with your thoughts. Because I saw this on a video. I can't remember what the YouTube channel name was, but the comments on there, they weren't the nicest. They were pretty, they were blaming him pretty badly. Not all of them, but a lot of them are, and I just found that to be really gross, so I don't want that on this video at all. With that being said, thank you so much for listening to Asia's story, and let me know your thoughts down below like always. If Asia's family sees this, I want to say that I am so sorry for what happened to Asia, and I'm thinking about you, and yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys.